for the public version of the MX HomePro editor on June 27th, so it's coming up pretty soon. Let me see my calendar here. Yeah, you guys can expect it by Tuesday of next week. So this is a brand new class. This is actually the second time we're giving this. We had this class running at 9 a.m. and the class went very well. Lots of people seem very interested in this new feature to MX HomePro. So with that said, we're going to go over quite a few things today. We're going to be taking a look at the integration guide for Alexa and MX HomePro. At the end of the class, I'll go ahead and provide this guide in the handouts portion of your GoToWebinar interface. So at the end of the class, I'll go ahead and put that PDF attachment there and you guys can go ahead and download it. This PDF file is not available on the URC public website or on the URC control room. So this will be something that you guys will kind of have a step ahead of the game before the release on the 27th. So that's something that's pretty cool. What we're going to do today is, like I said, we're going to go through the guide. We're going to go on the MX HomePro editor. We're going to go ahead and program a couple Alexa voice service command macros. And we're also going to go ahead and take a look at the Alexa web portal, which is very similar to the Alexa mobile app. And it's just there's a couple setup procedures that we need to do through there. So I want to go ahead and show you as much information as I can. That way, when you guys are out in the field installing these, you already have an idea of where to go and maybe even know everything that you need to know. So that would be the goal. That is the best thing that we can try to do. So before we get started, I want to go ahead and see if you guys can see my screen and hear my voice. If you can do both of those things, just type in yes into the questions dialog box and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm also joined today by Jeff Rogers. He's another member of the training team, and he will be helping me out today. He'll be answering any questions you guys have in the questions dialog box. So if at any point in time you guys have something that you want to ask, feel free to type it into the questions box, and JR will go ahead and type in a response for you. If it's something that we feel that the entire class can benefit from, JR will stop me in my tracks and let me know to address the question so that I can go ahead and point it out to the rest of the class. But JR, if you could right now, just test the audio portion on your end.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us. And like Elvin was saying, any questions that come up, type them in the dialog box and I'll get you answers as soon as possible.
Awesome. Thank you, JR. So I will let the attendees know that since this is only our second run of today's class, this may or may not last a full hour. Our previous class did manage to make it a full hour. I will try to go at a slow pace because everything here is brand new and I do want to make sure that you understand everything that we are talking about today. And please feel free to ask any questions at any time. Your questions are going to really help us better serve you guys in terms of what you need to know as a trainee. But we're going to go ahead and get started with the programming guide. So this is going to be available on the URC control room. You'll be able to download this. This will also probably be available from the MX HomePro editor as well. So that's something that you'll be able to download and have on your computer at any point in time. Again, at the end of the class, I will provide this in the handouts portion of your GoToWebinar control panel. But for now, let's just go ahead and move along. So here's a general overview of how Alexa works with MX HomePro. This Alexa module originally released just for Total Control, and it has a lot of success with Total Control. People really like the Alexa module. It's really the Alexa voice service module. And so now we're implementing that same service into MX HomePro. Now it doesn't function 100% exactly like the Total Control side, and that's just because Total Control is a much more premier system, whereas MX HomePro is more mid-tier. So there's going to be a couple things that weren't possible with MX HomePro that were possible with Total Control, but we're still providing that same voice service command, which is what customers really want. So the first thing we need to know is how this module works. So when the URC engineers were working together with Amazon to create this module, the API that was provided for us had a certain stipulation that we needed to follow. And that stipulation was the trigger phrase needs to begin with either Alexa turn on or Alexa turn off. Now there is reasoning for this. It wasn't just a pair of random words chosen together and decided upon in a boardroom as to, hey, this is what we're going to use. The reason these words were chosen is because the way that URC communicates to Alexa is through a skill that's built into the Alexa service. So when you open up Alexa, either via the app or if you go onto the web browser, which is alexa.amazon.com, you'll log into your customer's account and you'll notice that there is a section that says skills. Now this skills section will guide you to the skills store that is available for Alexa. Now this skills store is going to have multiple different types of skills that other third-party developers have created for Alexa. Just like those other third-party developers, URC had to follow the same suit. So that meant that URC had to create what's called the URC Smart Home skill. That's a third-party skill that you download and enable on the Alexa web portal or the Alexa mobile app. Now, because of this skill, the way that we tell the Alexa device to use the URC Smart Home skill is by triggering it with the phrase Alexa turn on or Alexa turn off. Once your Alexa device listens to the phrase Alexa turn on or off, it's going to go ahead and automatically know to start looking for the scene from the URC Smart Home skill, as opposed to any other third-party skill or any native skills that were built into the Amazon Alexa device. So here are the current compatible devices with the Alexa voice service module: the Amazon Echo, Echo Dot, the Tap, and the Fire Stick or Fire TV, however you like to call it. Now, any future Amazon device that is released that has Alexa capability will still be able to integrate with MX Home Pro, and that's just because of how the Alexa voice service works. Since it's all programmed from one web portal or one app, and all the skills that are associated to it are universally available to all the Echo devices or the Alexa devices that your customer owns and has associated to their account, it doesn't matter which one of these devices your customer has, it'll be able to use voice service commands. Even if your customer has a mix and match pair of these, they could have an Echo Dot, and a Tap in all separate rooms. They'll all still derive that same smart home skill that's been enabled on just one of them. Enabling it on just one account will enable it on all of them, so that's something that's really cool. Now remember, this is something that's tied to your customer's Amazon account, so never try to log in with your own personal Amazon account at a customer's house, because then you'll be activating an Echo or an Echo Dot or a Tap for you, and your customer is going to be using it, so you don't want to do that. Now, the process of pairing MX Home Pro with Alexa is a two-part process. The first part is completed within the MX Home Pro editor, which is just simply enabling Alexa and adding your Alexa voice service macros. The second part is completed from within the Alexa either mobile app, which is available for free download on iOS or Android, or via the Alexa web portal, which is available through the URL that's provided on the integration guide, which is just alexa.amazon.com. Now, there are a few reserved words that may or may not work with Alexa, and these have to be mentioned just as a precaution. These words could work, they could not work, but the one thing that you want to always remember is that you need to keep that Alexa turn on or turn off prior to any other phrasing that you're going to go ahead and create in the MX Home Pro editor. So a couple things that would not work is, for example, Alexa raise the volume. Now, notice I did not say turn on or turn off. So by saying Alexa raise the volume, what Alexa is going to do is raise the physical volume on the speaker that's built into the device. So if I'm saying this to an Echo, the Echo is going to go ahead and increase its own volume as opposed to increasing the volume to my total control system. So that's just something that you want to really keep in mind. And I see we have a question here. Can you have multiple HomePro hubs in a house and use Alexa services on all of them? Absolutely. Now, the way that this works, and you'll see when we jump into the MX Home Pro editor, is that each room, as you know, an MX Home Pro system can hold up to 5 rooms. Each room must be programmed individually with Alexa. So for example, let's say we have 3 rooms. We have a master bedroom, we have a living room, and we have a kitchen. Let's just go ahead and say that. I have an Echo in the living room, I have a Dot in the kitchen, and I have another Dot in the master bedroom. Honestly, that part doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how many of these devices you have. You're only really going to be programming them once through the MX Home Pro editor. So let's say your first room in the MX Home Pro editor is the living room. You'll program your Alexa voice service commands for the living room while you're in the living room. Now, what you want to keep in mind is that while you're programming the living room and you're setting up your Alexa voice service command, you will not be able to get to devices that are in another room. You won't be able to access those devices until you switch the MX Home Pro editor to program that specific room. So if I'm programming the living room and I want to go ahead and program Alexa voice service macros from the master bedroom, I need to go to the advanced menu, select program a different room, select the master bedroom, and then I can go ahead and program Alexa voice service commands for the master bedroom. Now, you'll see that in the MX Home Pro editor. So right now I'm just giving you the information, but you'll be able to see that once we jump in there. I'll show you exactly where you would select to switch rooms and all that good stuff. So we'll take a look at that. But yes, to answer your question, Steve, you can have multiple MX Home Pro hubs in a house and use Alexa voice services on all of them. Just remember that you can have up to 5 rooms in an MX Home Pro system. So that's up to 5 hubs in a room, and each room can have up to 3 hubs in that room for expansion. So just kind of, that's the only limitation that you have to work with, is the fact that the MX Home Pro system can only expand into 5 rooms. But we're going to go ahead and switch back into the integration guide. I thought that was a pretty important question for the rest of the group, so I did think it merited being called out. So moving on here, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a couple other commands that may or may not work. So for example, if you're telling Alexa to play a certain song, it's going to go ahead and jump into the Alexa voice services for music, for Amazon Music. So those are things that you really want to be careful of. You really want to make sure that that turn on or turn off phrase is in there before any custom phrasing, to really make sure that things work the way that they're supposed to work. I will tell you one thing though, if you are setting up something like for Alexa turn on volume up, something like that, which would work technically, but I would only suggest doing so if the AVR that the customer is using has discrete volume settings. Because if you just do Alexa turn on volume up, and in the macro you just have a single volume up command, you have to remember that this is not going to ramp. It's just going to go ahead and issue out a single volume up command. Generally, this can go ahead and just be a 0.5 decibel increase. So if this is the case for your customer, it wouldn't be smart to create an Alexa turn on volume up, because they're going to have to go ahead and say that to just increase by a 0.5 decibel amount. So that's something you don't really want to do. If an AVR has discrete volume levels, so you could say Alexa turn on volume to 50%, that's something that could happen if the AVR supports it. Now I'm just saying that because we do get a lot of calls on the total control side of things for setting up volume commands with AVRs. And you know, it's just the way that it works. If your AVR doesn't support discrete volume levels, you're just not really, it's not going to be a best practice to do it the other way around, where it's just a single ramp command and it's just going to be a nightmare for your customer. But moving on from that, we're going to go into a couple other things here. So a couple things you want to know before you get started with programming. As I mentioned, you can only control devices in a single room as defined in the MX Home Pro Editor software. So if you're in the living room, you can only program Alexa voice command macros for the devices that are in the living room. If you wanted to program Alexa voice commands for additional devices that are in another room, you need to switch to that room in order to go ahead and do so. Alexa communicates to the MX Home Pro system through the URC Smart Home skill, which we discussed. That's something that you'll find on either the Alexa app or the Alexa web portal. And we will show you how you can go ahead and locate that, where to find it, and we'll show you the skills store so you can go ahead and see all the third-party developers that have created their own skills for Alexa. Custom URC activities function through smart home scenes, which are created from within the MX Home Pro editor. So every Alexa voice service macro that we create within the MX Home Pro editor is viewed as a URC scene or a smart home scene in the Alexa software. So that's just something that has nothing to do with programming, that has nothing to do with communication. That's just general information as to how the module works with Alexa. Now, granted, this information may or may not be important to you, but I always feel that understanding how something works is the best way to get started on learning how to use it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and actually go through the process of setting up an Alexa voice service command. So the first step is going into the advanced menu. Now the advanced menu is the second button to the left, right after the programming menu. You're going to go ahead and select that, and that's going to bring us immediately to our second step. In our second step, we're going to go ahead and select the option that says integrate with an external service. Now this option is currently not available in the public version of MX Home Pro. So if you go home today, or if you're already home and after this class completes, you want to go on to mxhomepro.com and you log into your dealer account, you're going to see that this button's not there. This button won't be active until June 27th when the public version of this goes live. So you won't be able to see this right now, but this is essentially the button that you're going to be able to integrate with Alexa. So you're going to select this from the advanced menu, and that's the second step. You just select it. The third step is just selecting Amazon Alexa. Now this window here, which states what services are you integrating with, this is something that can be used for future expansion. There may be additional services available later on in MX Home Pro, but as it stands, and as it stands of June 27th, the only thing that's going to populate here is Amazon Alexa. Step 3 is very simple. Just select it. Make sure that this little box is filled in or this little circle is filled in, I should say. After that, you're just going to go ahead and go to the fourth step, which is simply select next. Once you select next, you'll already be brought to the Alexa setup screen, which is this right here. And if we read what the image says, it says all lights and thermostats added to the system will be discovered by Alexa after downloading this configuration file to the system. So you're going to find this out later on in the class that Alexa actually has the capability of discovering some lights and some thermostats and some two-way devices. Now, Alexa has the capability of discovering all Z-Wave devices automatically after this point. After you've completed steps 1 through 4, you'll be able to automatically discover those devices. Of course, this is done after the pairing process, but essentially after you complete this, you'd be able to do that. But we're going to go ahead and talk more about the pairing process as we get there. I'm just providing you the information so that when we get there, I won't have to go that deep into explaining it. So we're going to go ahead and select continue to set up smart home scenes, because at this point in step 5, we haven't set up anything. Well, I mean, we've set up the MX HomePro system to use Alexa. However, we haven't done anything with our macros. We haven't told the Alexa system to create voice service commands for our entertainment devices, so those devices that we program via IR or IP. Now, notice I did not say advanced devices. I only said entertainment devices. Now, if you are familiar with MX HomePro, you'll know that advanced devices in an MX HomePro environment is just the terminology used for two-way advanced devices. So we're going to select continue to set up a smart home scenes, and then that's going to bring us into step 6. Choose which type of smart home scene to create and select next. So you're going to go ahead and designate either turn on or turn off. Now keep in mind that if you select turn on, it does not automatically create a turn off for you. So just something for you to keep in mind. And vice versa, if you create a turn off, a turn on will not automatically be created for you either. So you make your selection, turn on or turn off, and you're going to go ahead and select next. That brings us to step 7. Now this is where we're going to go ahead and enter in the spoken phrase to trigger Alexa to play the macro that we're going to create. So in this instance, in this example that we see in the integration guide, the phrase is going to say, Alexa, turn on movie. So we type in movie in step 7, and then in step 8, we just select next. Now this custom phrase works in conjunction with the type of turn off or turn on selected in the previous step to trigger an Alexa voice service command macro. So another example of this could be Alexa turn on living room Blu-ray player. Now that's a bit of a mouthful, so I just went with something simple as Alexa turn on movie. So now you're going to just go ahead and move into step 9, and you're going to program just the macro as you normally would have programming any macro on a device button. Now you'll go ahead and just program this, add in all your commands that you need, and then once you've done that, you'll move on to step 10 and select next. Now in this integration guide, there is a link provided to you for the MX HomePro programming guide. If you don't know what automated activities are, which if you don't, automated activities is just the terminology used in MX HomePro for macros. So an automated activity is a macro. They're one and the same. But if you are unfamiliar with programming macros in MX HomePro, or if you're just unfamiliar with MX HomePro in general, I do suggest you select this link. It'll go ahead and take you to the PDF document, online of course, for the MX HomePro programming guide, where you can go ahead and see how to add devices, how to program macros, how to do everything that you need to do to get started with an MX HomePro system. So that link is available there if you guys do need it. And again, I will provide you with this integration guide towards the end of the class. So let's go ahead and move on to step 11. Now, after you've done all that and you've selected next, you'll be brought into step 11. And this is just where you have to decide whether you want to finish programming your smart home scenes. In other words, are you done programming Alexa macros? Or if you want to continue programming more Alexa macros, you would just select the continue programming button and follow the same steps that we just covered to program your next Alexa voice service command. Now, we will go into the MX HomePro editor later on in the class, and we're going to program a few of these ourselves. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the next portion of the integration guide here, because now we already know the process of setting up an Alexa voice service command. Sorry about that. So the next part is configuring Alexa with the MX HomePro system. So this is creating the handshake between the Amazon software and the URC software. Now I say Amazon software because Amazon designed Alexa, but you can call it Alexa software, whatever. Those are pretty much interchangeable. But this is going to be done from you're going to need two things. You're going to need the MX HomePro editor, and you're going to either need the Alexa mobile app or the Alexa web browser. Now, I will be showing you from the Alexa web browser simply because I can't do a GoToWebinar from my phone, though I feel that would be a bit awkward. So just bear with me as we do this. So What we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and select Home Overview. That process is pretty self-explanatory. Or not really self-explanatory, it's pretty simple. We select Home Overview, and now we're going to have the ability to scroll down to this section here that says Alexa Smart Home Scenes and Devices. If you can't see it too clearly, don't worry. We're going to go into the MX Home Pro editor soon. When we're there, you'll be able to see this perfectly. Now, there is something we're going to return to on this page, and that's this section right here where it says Alexa Voice Service Commands. So you see this little info box, the very first info box you see at the at the right of Alexa Voice Service Commands. When you select that, you're going to be presented with this screen here. Now, this screen has a link that's going to take you to the Alexa Voice Service Commands web page. And this web page is essentially a web page that's connected to the primary hub of your MX Home Pro system. And what this does is it's just going to provide you with a lot of information. It's going to provide you with information for every command you create. So for every Alexa Voice Service macro you create in the MX Home Pro editor, it will appear on this Alexa Voice Service page, and it'll show you the proper phrases to say to trigger that macro. Additionally, any devices that it discovers automatically for you, so some two-way devices and all Z-Wave devices, it will also appear on this voice service web page, and it'll give you the proper trigger phrases to go ahead and do an activity. So you'll see that shortly too. We're going to talk about that, and we'll return back to this page briefly just to kind of show you where it is again. But I just want you guys to know that before we continue moving forward. But the real thing we're looking for here is actually the link name and link code, which is located down here. I'm going to go on the next page and then I'll zoom that in. So let's go ahead and zoom this in. So link name and link code. This is the most important part of this here. Without this, you cannot create that handshake. That's why I'm kind of stressing this. So this right here, what's highlighted, the link name and link code, that's something that you want to keep handy. You can go ahead and just open up another tab on your web browser. Since the MX Home Pro editor is done from a web browser, just open up another web browser and go on to your alexa.amazon.com account. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. So we've got our link name, we've got our link code. We're going to scroll down here, and we're going to go ahead and read step 3 here, which is log into the customer's Amazon account. So we're going to select www.alexa.amazon.com. Just click on this. Now this is my personal account, and I do have the URC skill enabled, so I won't be enabling it, but I will show you where to locate it. So the next step here is select the skills tab and enter URC smart homes in the search bar and click search. So we're going to do exactly that. Skills tab. Now keep in mind the Alexa app on the mobile device, iOS or Android, it's going to look more or less the same. All these categories will still be there. It's just going to look different because it's on a phone, but generally the scheme looks more or less the same. So you're going to go up here and you're going to type in URC Smart Home. Select Enter. It's the first one that shows up. We select this and we're going to go ahead and enable it. Now mine is already enabled, so I don't need to do that, but it would just have a button that says Enable. Now we're going to switch back to the integration guide, because once we select Enable, we're going to be presented with a couple screens. This is the first screen you're going to see. And essentially what it's going to say in the first box is name, and on the second box code. So you're going to go ahead and enter in the link name and the link code that you found on the MX Home Pro editor. So you could copy paste it directly from the MX Home Pro editor if you have both tabs open. And then after you've entered in the link name and link code into the available fields, you're just going to go ahead and select sign in. At this point, you want to make sure that you have pop-up blocker on your computer disabled, just because this next screen here only appears if pop-up blocker has been disabled. And all you want to do is select Grant. Once you've selected Grant, the handshake between your MX Home Pro system and the Alexa software will have been completed. At that point, what you can do is start discovering your devices. So once you've hit Grant, you can go ahead and say, Alexa, discover devices. Now, we're going to go ahead and show you exactly what she can discover. So there's really 3 methods to device discovery. You could go ahead and do it directly from the Alexa app or the Alexa web browser by selecting the Smart Home tab and selecting Discover Devices. Doesn't matter which way you do it. Any one of these 3 ways will do exactly the same thing. My personal favorite is just saying Alexa Discover Devices, just because it's fun to say. And after you do that, it'll go ahead and locate any smart home scenes you program from within the MX Home Pro editor. So that's going to be any Alexa macros that you created, or as they're called, Alexa automated activities. Those are the smart home scenes. The next thing it'll also discover is any Z-Wave device that is connected to your TRF-ZW. Now keep in mind, any scenes containing locks or other protected devices do not execute via Alexa for security precautions. So if you have a scene that unlocks a door lock, it will not be able to be activated via a voice command. Now there are workarounds for this. Now I can't provide you with those workarounds as they are security risks, but just know if your customer is game, there is always a workaround for something that the software would not natively do. Other two-way advanced devices that can be discovered via this method are Lutron Caseta for lights, Lutron Radio Raw 2 for lights, thermostats, and shades, Coolmaster Net for thermostats, Nest for thermostats as well, and Honeywell Total Connect for thermostats as well. Now those are the types of advanced devices that will be discovered when you say Alexa discover devices. What this means is that you won't need to go through any of the steps that we went through on the previous pages to control those specific devices. For only those specific advanced two-way modules, you do not need to create a smart home scene for. So again, for the for any device that's connected to the TRF-ZW, for any lights that are controlled via the Lutron Caseta module, or any lights, thermostats, or shades that are controlled by the Lutron Radio Raw 2 module, or any thermostats controlled by the Coolmaster Net module, or any thermostats by the Nest module, and any thermostats by the Honeywell module, you do not need to create smart home scenes for those specific devices. I just want to make sure that that is understood. So these devices will go ahead and automatically discover, and phrases and trigger phrases will automatically be created for you, which makes the next page much more important. Since this has the ability of discovering automatically, we need to know what phrases to use to trigger these devices. And that's what this next page is used for. The Alexa Voice Service web page is a web page that you'll log into when you're at the customer's house connected to the same network as the primary hub of the MX HomePro system and the Alexa Voice Service device. You want to make sure you're on that same network. Now there's two ways to access this page. One way is a little bit more technical. One way is much easier for you. It's up to you which way you want to use. The first way is by entering in the primary hub's IP address. Now this can be, you can get this information either from the MX HomePro editor, or you can go ahead and use an app like Thing, which will go ahead and scan the network and you'll be able to select the device from there. Now the next thing that you want to go ahead and do, the next method of accessing this web page is something that we refer to on page 8. So if you take a look on page 8, that first info box that we discussed when we looked at this page brings you to this right here. Now from here, if you just select View Alexa Voice Service Commands, if you select that button, it's going to bring you right here. Now this is the home page. This is just a snapshot of the home page that just includes the Welcome to the URC Alexa Voice Service page, and it shows the image of the 3 selectable icons. Now these 3 selectable icons have importance. The first one is the home button. The home button, regardless of what page you're in, will always bring you back to this page. This is the home page. The device list button will bring you to this page. This page defines each device that was created, whether it was in the MX HomePro editor or if it was a device that was automatically discovered for you. Now it'll go ahead and label them by the device name and followed by the command that can be used to trigger that device. Whoops, sorry about that. So in this first example, we have family room cable TV, and we have turn on the family room cable TV, turn off the family room cable TV, and that's what's under the command column. Now the device type column lets me know that it's a scene, and the module type lets me know that it was created in MX HomePro because it is a URC scene. So a URC scene, as we mentioned earlier, is how Alexa views all those macros that we create in the MX HomePro editor that we attach a vocal command to. Now if any of these came from Z-Wave, this would go ahead and instead of reading URC, would go ahead and read Z-Wave. If it's a lighting device, it would go ahead and say light instead of scene, and if it was a scene, it would of course say scene. If it's a thermostat, it would read thermostat. Now this next box here is the enabled. Now you can uncheck this to disable a specific voice service command. Now this won't remove the macro from your system. All this will do is it will make sure that that voice service command does not issue that macro out. So if I uncheck this box here, anytime I said Alexa turn on the family room lights, nothing would happen. Or if I said Alexa turn off the family room lights, nothing would happen because I have this box unchecked. By default, these boxes are all left checked. So that's something that you do want to know. Other things that you can do from here is make quick changes So for example, if I wanted to change the name from Family Room Cable TV to just Cable TV, I would just double click on device name and make that change on the fly. Once I do that, the command will go ahead and change as well and say, Alexa, turn on cable TV, Alexa, turn off cable TV, without ever touching the MX Home Pro editor. So that's something that's pretty cool. Now there are a couple other buttons that are available from here, and that's the home button, print list, and help. Now the home button will bring will bring the installer, you guys, back to the home page, which was the page that I showed you on the previous page here, which, just in case you don't remember, is just this right here. Now the other option here, print list, will go ahead and make this entire table into a printable sheet that you can go ahead and print out and provide to your customer. Now why would you want to do this? You would want to do this because if you give your customer this sheet, the customer will automatically, well, not automatically, the customer will have the ability to look at this sheet or reference this sheet and see all of the devices that are programmed in the MX Home Pro system that can be controlled via voice command, and it'll also go ahead and provide them with that actual phrase to control their device. So that's why you would want to go ahead and print this out for your customer. Now the Help tab just has a bunch of frequently asked questions and the link for contacting technical support. So that's all that's available there. So we hit the Help tab again and we select Advanced Configuration. So let's just take a look at the options on the previous page here. There's the other option here that says Advanced Configuration. So now we're going to take a look at that page. Now the Advanced Configuration page looks like this. Now what this page does is it only shows us what devices were discovered automatically. So devices that would be discovered automatically in this instance were Z-Wave and Nest. Now any device that was on the list that I provided for you of the two-way devices would show up on this menu here. Any macros that you program in Accelerator to be URC Smart Home Scenes, those will not appear here. Only devices that were automatically discovered will appear here, none that you have to manually create. So it's something that I do want you guys to know. Now it's going to go ahead and list for you the module, the features, in other words, what devices you can control from it. So you can see Z-Wave allows you to control lights, scenes, and thermostats. Nest only allows you to control thermostats. And then just like on the previous page, it's going to have an enabled section. Now this enabled section is a bit more useful here. Just because there are such a thing as duplicates with Alexa and MX Home Pro, just like there is with Alexa and Total Control. So we know that Nest has a two-way module available for MX Home Pro. What you may not know is that on the Alexa side, if we go to Skills and we type in Nest, there is a third-party skill available for Nest as well. Now, if your customer has gone ahead and already enabled this without your knowledge, you're going to run into some issues. So if Nest is enabled and you add the two-way module for MX Home Pro and you say Discover Devices, it's going to go ahead and enable on the MX Home Pro side as well, on the URC side. So now anytime you try to control Nest, if you have a single Nest device and you have the third-party skill enabled and the URC Smart Home Smart Home skill enabled, is going to create a conflict. Now, what we recommend you do is just disable the third-party skill. So you would go into Smart Home here, you would select Nest, and you would just disable it. Now, what you can do on the MX Home Pro side, so let's say your customer prefers using the Smart Home skill, the third-party skill on Amazon, all you need to do is go to this Advanced Configuration page and just uncheck this box and hit Update. That way, anytime your customer tries to control their Nest device vocally, it'll go ahead and use the Nest skill as opposed to using the URC Smart Home skill, and you won't have any conflicts. Now, of course, again, we recommend just sticking to the URC Smart Home skill. Our engineers has told us that our vocal commands are more receptive, and there's more of an availability of vocal commands to control your thermostat with our URC Smart Home skill. But again, it's completely up to the customer, whatever they want to do. You guys know the two methods of doing it, so if your customer wants to just stick with URC, go on the Alexa app or the Alexa web browser and just disable the Nest skill or any other conflicting third-party skill. And if your customer wants to stick with the third-party skill, just log into this Amazon voice service web page, select Advanced Configuration, and just uncheck this box and hit Update. Nice and simple. So there are 4 available selectable options here. So Home, again, will bring you back to the home page. Device List will bring you back to the previous page, which showed the device list. Refresh Devices will go ahead and just refresh the page so that you can make sure that your devices was enabled or disabled depending on what you just previously did. And Reset User Configuration will go ahead and pretty much reset this to default. So any devices that were discovered previously will just be enabled because by default they are all left as enabled. So just something for you to know there. And that's really what you would use this Alexa voice service webpage for just checking the devices you added, seeing what the commands are for them, and enabling or disabling advanced devices if you needed to. So before we go into this best practices page, let's go ahead and take a look at the MX Home Pro editor. So this is the alpha version of the MX Home Pro editor. So the stuff that you see here will not be implemented into the public version of the MX Home Pro editor until the 27th of June. Now, granted, it looks more or less the same, so you're not going to see too many differences here. But we're going to go ahead and follow the steps that were in the integration guide to go ahead and add Alexa and to start controlling devices. So we're going to go to the advanced menu here, and we're going to select integrate with an external service. We're going to select Amazon Alexa as our external service, and we're going to select next. So at this point, if we wanted to, we could go do the pairing process of the URC account and the Amazon account. So going through the enabling of the skill, entering in the link name, entering in the code, and then we can start discovering devices. But the only devices we will discover are those advanced devices that I mentioned. And that's kind of what this says here. So just kind of to let you know, but we're going to go ahead and continue to set up smart home scenes. So this test file here has a cable box that we're going to go ahead and create a voice service macro for, and it also has a Blu-ray player, which we're going to do the same for. So we're going to select turn on, and we're going to select next. Now we're going to go ahead and enter in the custom phrase. So Alexa, turn on, and I'm going to just type in living room cable, and I'll select next. Now I'm just going to go ahead and program this as a macro as I normally would. Now you'll notice that this add jump to button is grayed out and it is not selectable. So you cannot add a jump at the end of this, and there is going to be a couple things that you need to know about creating these Alexa voice service commands. And that's that since you can't add a jump, and the reason you can't add a jump is because the MX Home Pro system does not have any native form of tracking. That's where the now playing button is going to become very important. If you guys aren't familiar with what a now playing button is, a now playing button is a button that you create, and essentially it's tied to a couple different variables. And these variables allow the MX Home Pro system to track what's going on. This now playing button is a physical button that's put into your MX Home Pro interface, whether it be the R500 remote control or the MX Home Pro mobile application. So this now playing button will go ahead and track what's currently playing on your MX Home Pro system and automatically bring you to the menu of that specific activity or device. So just something for you to know. I will show you where you can go ahead and find the link with the video as to how to set up a now playing button, as unfortunately that will not be something that we will be covering in today's class. But I will show you the link as to where you can find that. It's not too hard. The video for it is not long either. It's just an 8-minute long video. But it does exactly what you need to know in terms of setting a now playing button. So now that we've had all of our sources here, all of our commands, we're going to go ahead and just select next. That's it. We've programmed our first Alexa voice service command macro. We've created our first URC smart home scene. So let's go ahead and create another one. We're going to select integrate with an external service, select Amazon Alexa. We're going to continue. We're going to select turn on still. This time we're going to go ahead and say turn on living room movie, and we'll select next. Now we're going to build our macro as we normally would. And then we're just going to select next. and we'll program one last one. So I made a mistake. I selected Finish Smart Home Scene Programming, but I meant to select is Continue. So now we're just going to do Turn Off, and we're going to say, Alexa, turn off living room. And now we're just going to go ahead and add in the power off command for every device in the living room. Now, if I had a system with multiple rooms, I would not be able to access the devices in any other room other than the living room, because that is the room that I'm currently in on the MX HomePro editor. So if I wanted to go ahead and program devices for Alexa to control in the master bedroom, for example, I would need to make sure that I've changed this into the master bedroom before I can go ahead and have access to those devices. Now, the other cool thing that you can do in here is that you can bring in TRFZW scenes into your macros as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the lights in the living room as well. So in this Alexa turn off living room voice command, it's going to go ahead and turn off the TV, turn off the cable box, turn off the Blu-ray player, turn off the AVR, as well as turn off the lights in the living room. So it'll go ahead and turn off all the devices that I have in my living room. Now I'm just going to go ahead and select Next, and I'm going to select Finish. So I'm going to go to Home Overview, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to go ahead and see each command that I just created underneath Alexa Smart Home Scenes and Devices. Now, if I just drop this down by single clicking on it, I can go ahead and see the link name and link code, as I mentioned to you guys earlier. If I select this, if I had the Alexa device here in the studio, which is where I'm giving you this webinar from, I could select this option here, and it would bring me to connect to that Alexa voice service web page. Fortunately, I do not have that, so I won't be able to show you that, but I'm at least showing you the location of where you can do this. The other thing I will show you is this info box here at the right of Alexa linking credentials. If we select this, we have the option to email the Alexa credentials to the user. Granted, this is not something I would necessarily suggest you do at every job site unless the end user wants that link name and link code. Simply because after this URC Smart School has been enabled, unless it's disabled, you will never need this information again. And even if you did need it again, you can just log into the MX HomePro editor and view the link name and code right from the Home Overview. So there's not really much of a need for it. I'm not sure why this feature was added in there. I guess if a customer wants to have it on hand for their own personal use, or I guess just for their own personal files, they could totally do that. But again, it's just something that, you know, it's not necessarily a make or break for your MX HomePro system. So the final few pages that we have, so now we've programmed a turn on, two turn ons, and a turn off. There's actually one more thing I do want to show you that we can do here. So we've already created these three, right? So let's say we wanted to go ahead and make changes to them. We wouldn't have to delete them and just create them from scratch. We would just go ahead and select the pencil icon at the right of whichever macro we want to go ahead and change. So we select this, and we can go ahead and even change if we want it to be turn on or turn off. Well, I'm going to leave this to turn on. And all I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and add a ZW scene into this macro. I select Next, and I select Finish. So it's very easy to make changes after you've downloaded, after you've created one. All you do is go to the Home Overview, and you can go ahead and make the changes from here. So that's something that's pretty cool. It's pretty nifty. It makes things a little bit quicker. It makes making changes nice and easy. So we're going to return to the guide to just complete these final few pages. So we're in the best practices section, so I'm just going to go ahead and read this out to you. When integrating with Alexa with MX HomePro, there can be certain procedures that are highly recommended to utilize the system properly. One of those is the Now Playing button. MX HomePro does not track devices the system is currently using. This means after issuing an Alexa voice service command, the user's interface MX HomePro mobile app or the MX HP R500 remote control remains on the entertainment/main menu. To jump users to the current device Alexa previously executed, a Now Playing button can be created. So take the example with the watch cable or the Alexa turn on living room cable. The cable box will turn on, the TV will change inputs, the AVR will change inputs. Everything will occur exactly as it needs to. However, If whatever's playing on cable is not something I want to watch, I'm going to go ahead and grab a MX Home Pro interface. So if I grab my R500 remote control, I'll notice that the screen is still on the home screen. So when I jump into my entertainment menu, I would technically have to hit cable again in order for it to jump into that menu. Now, a Now Playing button will allow me to jump into the cable menu without having to execute a macro. So that's why you would need to use a Now Playing button. Now, the Now Playing button is available on the URC University. This is a screenshot directly from the URC University, and I'll show you how to properly locate it very shortly. A Now Playing button creates a button on the entertainment menu that automatically jumps the user to the current activity. This keeps the user in sync and in control of the MX Home Pro system while utilizing Alexa integration. Now, I will show you where you can locate this. So let's just go ahead and look at the final page here, which is just on duplicate prevention. Now, this is just showing you the smart home tab, and it'll go ahead and show you that that Nest module is, well, that Nest skill is enabled here. You would simply hit disable, and you would just go ahead and use the URC smart home skill to control any Nest or any conflicting third-party devices. Again, this is only done when you have a conflict. If you don't have one, you don't necessarily need to worry about this. One more thing that I do need to call out from this page here is the groups. When it comes to Alexa and URC with groups, groups are an Amazon-only feature. We do not support groups, so if you add in the URC Smart Home skill into a group and it's not working the way it's supposed to or the way that you thought it was supposed to, since we don't support groups, we wouldn't really be able to help you out with that. What we recommend doing with groups is if you have multiple multiple devices in your MX Home Pro system that you want to activate, just create a macro, create a URC smart home scene, including all of those devices. That way, everything will go ahead and work off that single vocal trigger. Groups are really designed to have multiple Alexa skills work in conjunction with each other. So again, that's just an Amazon feature. We don't support groups, so don't try to create that because we won't be able to help you out with it. So just something for you guys to know. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go onto the URC control room. We're going to go ahead and select the More tab, and we're going to select URC University. On here, let me just log in. We'll select Course Catalog, MX Home Pro Courses, Becoming an Expert, and this is the video that you guys are gonna go ahead and want to watch. I would just play this and let it run, but the problem is that the audio only comes from my headset, so you won't be able to actually hear the video playing. So I'm just showing you where to locate it. Just watch this. It's very informative. It tells you everything you need to know. Even if you've never programmed an MX Home Pro system before, if you take a look at this, it'll go ahead and teach you how to set up a Now Playing button. Just take a look at this module. It's quick. It's 8 minutes. By the time it's done, you'll know how to do this. And if you forget, because I tend to forget how to do this a lot, I always just rewatch this video because it's just that good. Just watch it. It'll tell you exactly what you need to do, and you can go ahead and keep on moving. So those are all the class. That's pretty much everything that I've got to show you for today. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the class, this is just the second time running this class. So I pretty much matched my time that I did on the morning session. So I'm still kind of gauging how long this class is going to work, but it does more or less run for an hour. So at this point, if you guys have additional questions, now would be the time to make them into the questions dialog box. If you don't have any additional questions, you guys are free to exit the class. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your continued interest in URC. This class will be added to as a regular class to our MX Home Pro Mondays. So if you guys are unfamiliar with the way that our webinars work, we do MX Home Pro Mondays and Total Control Fridays. So every Monday we have an MX Home Pro class, and every Friday we have Total Control classes, one at 9 a.m. and one at 12 p.m. Doesn't matter if it's Monday or Friday, that's the class schedule. So we'll go ahead and add this into our regular lineup for MX Home Pro courses. Again, if you guys have more questions, just drop them into the questions dialog box, and JR and myself will go ahead and answer them for you. Thank you for joining us today, and hope you guys have a great day.